All right, this is of a series with Tanvi, our student collaborator of Dream Takes Wings with Auxilo. So, Tanvi, now we've covered universities, and in the second part, we covered scholarships and your exams, like what exams to give. Now, I think this part would cover the most important one of them all, which is documentation, right? Like all the processes are incomplete if the documentations are not in order. So how do I ensure like smooth journey through it all? Where do I start? Do you start with a letter of recommendation or SOPs? How do
Hmm.
you go about it?
Yeah, so that is an excellent point. Generally, to begin this process, you need to kind of create a checklist, university-wise, as to what all things do they require to submit. And like you correctly mentioned, I think an SOP becomes a key or an integral part of your application. So, an SOP, while you're applying for Canadian universities, is that document that in which you write about why you want to study in their university. Okay, and how is your current educational experience relevant to the educational experience that you are seeking in that particular university. Then, if you have done some relevant work till date in this field, then you need to kind of start highlighting that as well. So it basically, to summarize it, it can be like a two-page kind of a document talking about your very brief background, like where do you live, where do you stay, then your educational journey so far. So how have you kind of like progressed in your educational journey? What have your educational goals been? The third can be about like any relevant work experience or research experience that you have had in the field. And lastly, you need to kind of highlight why you want to seek admission in their university. So, for instance, gender studies as a subject was something which was being offered by a lot of Canadian universities. Then it's my responsibility to convince each university how I find their program different than the other universities. You know, so why that particular university is something that you can highlight towards the end of your application, and that's how you wrap it up. Don't make it too complex, just stick to the point. Don't try to bluff, and just stick to what you know and what you have done so far. So that is with regards to your application SOP. Yes, and the second most important thing is your letter of recommendation. Now, depending if you're applying for a graduate program or an undergraduate program, it differs. So now, because I applied for a graduate program, mostly the university is required two letter of recommendation, and some universities also require three. Both of these, whatever two letters of recommendations were from my previous educational supervisors. So it could be any professor, it could be any department head who have supervised my work closely, who know me well as a student. So I had to approach these people. And the third kind of letter of recommendation that some of the universities expected was a professional letter of experience. Okay. So now, previously, what used to happen is you had to approach your referee and you had to ask them for a letter of recommendation, and they would print a letter of recommendation on the university letterhead, and you would get it, and you had to physically upload it.
Yeah, that is the
But
old way.
correct. But now Canadian universities have started this entire process and they converted it into an online kind of a thing where students have little or no control over how to go about this. So what they do is once you send your application, they contact your referee for you via email. So you need to get your referee's email addresses or you have their phone numbers and any other relevant information. You need to enter it while you're submitting the application. After that, the university sends a link. Each university will send their own links to the referees that you have listed. After that, the referees have to click on the link and a form opens up where it asks them to share basic details about, like for example, what is their name, what is the experience, what has the relationship between the referee and the applicant been so far in terms of, like is the student capable enough or is the student worthy enough, etc. And then they have a space to upload a proper letter of recommendation and then you have to submit. Now you have to be, as students, you have to be very careful in this process because the referees, remember, if you're applying to 10 universities, the referees are going to get emails from 10 different universities on different dates, right? As and when the application gets completed, that is when they send out links to these referees. So it becomes your responsibility to follow up with it thoroughly and make sure that you are reminding the referees that they have to complete this entire process. Otherwise, of course, your application will remain incomplete and there are chances that you might face a rejection from any of these universities. So you have to be extremely careful and diligent about this process.
So in this, I'm just
Yeah.
curious to know, like, when you open this link, like, do the professor just have to copy paste their letter of recommendation, or do they have to just scan and upload the documents, or they have to fill out a list of, questions and answers? Like,
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And most of the time, what happens is that the student is ideally not privy to this information as to what happens when they open a link. So I just happen to know because recently I did this for one of my peers. So that is how I know what happens when I open the link. So apparently different universities have different ways of, like asking for recommendations. In some cases, you click on the link and initially a few questions open up about very focused question about the student's aptitude, the student's interest in the area, relevant work in the area, etc. And then you have a space to either type the letter or to scan and upload the letter.
okay,
Okay, but most of the times they would ask you, the universities would ask referees a few pointed questions, and then the referee can add on as to what they feel about like the recommendation letter about the student.
this sounds quite a tedious task on part of the referees, because I don't
It
think
is
so. There's only one student that he would be filling this out for. So you'll have to be in constant
absolutely,
touch with them and make sure,
yeah,
it works out in your
yeah.
favor.
So the
Right,
good way to do this is to kind of like kind of like send them a notice in advance that I am filling out your name as a referee, and these are the universities that will contact you. You can even decide a day, like you once you have sent your application to all 10 universities. What you could do is you could then contact a referee and say that I have finished my application process. Can I please sit with you? And then on one day you can kind of complete all 10 at the same time, so that you're not troubling this person again and again for 10 letters of recommendation.
right, right. And also an like interesting thing that I've been hearing about, especially from students of like Mumbai universities regarding the transcripts, right? Like, do we submit them online now, or do we have to get them like physically get them done, or like
Right.
there is also something called as official transcripts and unofficial transcripts? So how did you go about that?
My entire education has been through the University of Mumbai. So, yes. Okay, so my general word of advice is to collect an unofficial copy of your transcript as soon as you get your graduation result. Now, I'll explain the basic difference between an unofficial transcript and an official one. Okay, first and foremost, a transcript is not the mark sheets that you get from
Yeah,
the university. Okay, a transcript is basically an entire document highlighting your educational journey. Okay, so it has like the marks from all the semesters that you have completed in a particular educational institute. Now, one thing you need to remember is that if you're applying for an undergraduate program, so it is basically if you completed your undergraduate program from two colleges. Okay, so like first year and second year in one college and third year in another college, you would need transcripts from both these colleges. That is one. Now, if you are somebody who is applying for a graduate program, okay, you require your transcripts from your bachelor's education and from your master's education. And if you have say one more degree, if you have one more bachelor, you would require transcripts of that as well. Now, an unofficial copy of a transcript is something that you can, which is not sealed in an envelope. Okay, something they just print and give it to you. It's not different from an official transcript, except the fact that it is not sealed in an envelope. Generally, Canadian, when you're applying to the universities, these universities will encourage you to upload an unofficial copy because that is something that you can easily scan and upload it onto their portal. Okay,
right.
and that is the copy that you initially get from the university. Now, these are not free. You have to pay some amount of rupees to the department or to the college from where you're getting the transcript from. Okay. Now, once you get acceptance from the university that you want, then and only then do you go and request for an official copy of the transcript, or you can get like maybe one official copy and two unofficial copies, or say one unofficial copy and three official copies. right since the beginning, because this entire process of getting the transcripts is also quite tedious. You have to submit an application to them. The application gets processed, and it can take anywhere between 1 month to 2 months to 3 months for you to get your transcript from the university. So you have to be extremely kind of, like again, you have to follow up a lot on the timeline. And as a general rule, if you're planning to apply sometime in the near future, please go to your department, get your transcript. That is the first and foremost thing that you should be having on in your hand, you know.
Sure, sure. And you should start this process way early because after 12th, any degree that you get, you need transcripts for that.